also kind of utilizing multiple different kind of tools. Let's say we have SEIM tools where we can kind of quickly search for the past traffic logs, or we can kind of set up an alert on the system. Okay, so this is something we need to kind of know about. Okay, now let's so it is highly recommended that you review and kind of reconsider these questions periodically, this all four questions periodically. The answer and capabilities of your team, if you answer these questions, will kind of change, because these things like the answers to these queries and the capabilities that your team has will definitely change over time. Okay, and as will the operations and the need of your organization. Okay, so now we will kind of discuss how to kind of codify these items into a document and make sure we stayed up to date with the inputs from a cross functional community, because our team works with different kind of other teams closely. So we need to kind of codify these documents, and kind of we need to come up with certain way by which we can stay up to date with all these questions. Okay, so let's move to the next thing, which is, so we are discussing here the four core queries. So now I have certain things which I like to discuss is how we align the SOC with the organization. Okay, so we have our SOC team, and how we align the SOC to the needs, the ever-changing needs of the organization. Okay, and how we adapt to them. So for that thing is that we need to kind of you need to have a charter approved by the management. Okay, by your leadership, and the things that we need to kind of document up is few things. Is first thing is like, let's say, constituency served. Okay, the next thing will be like service to be delivered, and like constituency served, I mean is like what are the different teams we are trying to protect. Services to be delivered, we need to be kind of have an official document telling us, okay, what are the official services that we are bound to offer to our company for which we work for. Okay, what is our, we also need to kind of have an official document about the high level mission statement of our, okay, high level mission. And then we also need to know about the scoping, so how much kind of permission we have to kind of spread out for the whole organization. Let's say there are different teams in an organization, and we have, let's say, we have been allowed to investigate 90 of the 100 teams, but the last 10 teams we can't investigate, let's say, because those are really air gap networks, and it is something confidential where the leadership doesn't want the security to anyone to have a hold of. Okay, so we need to also know the scope. We need to always be in the scope of our investigation. Okay, and we also need to know the organizational structure. Okay, like who is our leadership, who are the members of our leadership, and what are the different team we work with. Let's say the SOC team is working with threat hunting, and we need to know who are the leaders of that threat hunting. So the reason for that, why it is needed, is that let's say you are working on some alert, you are the threat hunt team to kind of set up an alert, but that team is kind of bogged down with multiple requests like that. Let's say they have 100 of similar requests. Okay, so and your ask for, let's say, for the SolarWind case is you ask the threat hunt team to set up an alert for the SolarWind case, but they have not actioned that because they have 100 other similar requests in the pipeline. So in that case, you guys knowing out, okay, what is the leadership structure look like of the different other teams, let's say threat hunt team, what you do is you quickly escalate. You escalate, you involve the leadership of that threat hunt team, you tell them that this alert is of highest severity, you forget about all the other alerts in the pipeline, you keep kind of fix this alert, set up this alert at as soon as possible. There shouldn't be any delay. So we need to know different organizational structure of the company that we work for. Okay, and let's discuss about all these 5 points in much more detail. Okay, so one important item kind of that SOC must have early on its direction on what exactly it needs on focusing is what they need to do. Okay, this information actually what the SOC team needs to do. This information comes from the SOC charter. Okay, so what this charter is? So charter actually legitimize and gives the blue team the authority to perform its duties within the environment. So you will, if you have an official document which is called a charter, it will have the official stamp that okay, you guys are allowed to do this kind of stuff. You guys are allowed to investigate an employee. You guys are allowed to investigate a leader. So let's say you are working on a case, an inside threat, and the employee is the, let's say, the director of a different team. Let's say the HR director. So since you have been allowed to investigate those high-end employees, you shouldn't be kind of afraid. You shouldn't delay the investigation. You should quickly go and kind of start investigating that employee from an insider threat perspective. Okay, so these are things which are obviously not kind of mentioned in the charter, which has been obviously stand by the leadership of your team. Let's say the CEO or CTO of your team. Okay, of your company. So this charter actually has a list of team scope, duties, constituency to be served, and high level mission that is obviously kind of approved by the management. The SOC charter is actually kind of a, what to say, is a document that everyone within the SOC actually should be familiar with and ensure everyone is on the same page about the purpose and scope of the group and how it is organized and how it operates. Okay. So another important aspect of kind of answering the four questions that we were discussing earlier is that is based on the steering committee. So steering committee is something which kind of decide how much fund should go to the SOC team. What are the extra capabilities that SOC team should have? What are the extra, should SOC team hire more resource to the team? So all these questions, answering all these questions help the steering committee to kind of take a decision on based on that. Okay, so thing is that the steering committee actually helps continuously align the need and risk identified by the business leader to the capabilities and performance of the SOC. Okay, and this would kind of help in creating that charter, that official document that SOC team, that what are things that is approved for the SOC team. Okay, so steering committee is a more, I will say, more formalized outward facing function of the SOC that ensures communication line stays open. Okay, that the SOC is performing at the speed required for the business and is focusing resource on appropriate risk. So these are something that is also mentioned on the SOC, on the charter, is that we focus more resources on the things which are of utmost importance. So let's say there has been alert from the HR team and then there has been alert in the solar wind. So charter has approved us that we take the high severity alert with much more alertness. We allocate more resource to the solar wind case, let's say, rather than kind of handling an alert for the HR department. Okay, so it is how we as a blue team speak with our constituency and make sure the services that we are providing is kind of obviously approved. And so these are two high level items actually I like to discuss over there, like which kind of provide the initial and ongoing direction of what SOC should be doing, what it protects of an organization and how it kind of protects. Okay, so let's move forward and kind of see that in much more detail. So now I will be kind of discussing a bit more about, let's say, the risk. Okay, and understanding why there are different decisions taken in an organization by the security team, depending on the amount of risk that kind of an organization is kind of what to say is exposed to. So let's say there is a risk going forward, and let me just draw one diagram out of that. So let's say there's one stage where there is no security, okay, in a company. Then there is another where it says acceptable security for an organization, and then there is another thing where it says